All right, down in the comments section, you'll find another person's remote tuned AM ferret rod. Now, I told you the thing I built used a box loop. And I did give you a link of a guy that sort of did that. This one here is done a little bit better. Technically, his schematic and all that. But then a person will then build something and they don't think it through and make it professional looking. But the electronics of it looks good. In other words, you vary the voltage. The voltage goes up the center conductor of the shielded wire to the antenna, and then that powers the circuit board, and it also changes the frequency using varicaps. So here's another one I'm sending you, and I want to tell you right off the bat, this isn't for your average person. This is for someone that's built a lot of circuits, and they go looking on the internet, and they can't find anything. I'll tell you, I just keep ending up back on eBay. All clicks end up on eBay, or somebody has built something, and he used so many buzzwords that you go drawn into his web page, even though it's not what you're looking for. That's what's happened to the internet, and it has to do with the search engine. And then a lot of times now, some of the really good web pages, they're gone. They're absolutely gone. Now, yesterday I went to a yard sale. The neighborhood was the entire neighborhood. The people were my age and older, and I spent my time in the heat. It's the same temperature again today. Now we're in a heat wave. Kept raining almost every day for I don't know how long, and now we're in a heat wave for 6 days or something like that. At the beginning of the summer, the very beginning of summer, we go into a heat wave. But I just wanted to tell you, this neighborhood, they're all older, and I learned that when you want to have a question answered, don't ask the person in front of somebody else. They'll become biased. So I went around and I was asking the people that were 80-something years old, like 85, about their friends and that, and they just tell you straight out, they're all dead. When you make it to 86, the odds of your childhood friends being alive, it gets really rare. And they start telling me this, and I'm like, that's why I was asking you the question. I said, I got like one friend left that I keep in contact with, and his health is not good. And I'm telling him I'm out walking, and I went out. It takes an hour to get there. I hung out for about 2 hours, and then an hour back, and I did score a movie. And it's amazing to see people that have more money than this neighborhood. It's called the Regents. It's off of Greenfield Road in East Lampeter, and they're row houses, but fancy looking row houses. And they don't have to mow their lawn. Somebody cuts it. There are bushes on their property. Somebody cuts it. So they have money. And when they talk to you, the sentences are very good. Their sentence structure, their wide variety. They know a lot about different subjects, and they're more friendly than people with less money. But I hung out with them, and I hung out with one old timer. Oh, he had to be 96 years old, and he was telling me he's basically just sitting there waiting to go. And he told me years ago. This is the second old person that's told me they were tired of living years ago, and he was really thankful that I walked over. And the stuff he was selling at the yard sale, nobody wanted it. And they looked from the car, and they wouldn't even get out of the car, and it was hot. But anyway, I hung out and talked to the guy for a while. And I told him, I'm just trying to understand what people do with the day when you're that old. What do you do? I have my hobbies. I can tinker. But they're basically saying, nah. They sit, they eat, they put the TV on, they fall asleep. They're honest. Now, if you get two old people together, it becomes a competition. Neither one will say, I take a nap. So I learned this. It's the same with the Amish. If you want to talk to an Amish person, you one-on-one. So if someone comes over, he's going to stop. He doesn't want the other Amish person to know what he's been talking about. If it's his brother, they'll you'll get introduced to the brother, and the conversation might keep going, depending on who you're talking about or what you're talking about. But I have all these little things that I like to do at the art sale. And besides coming back with a movie, I like to understand people, what they're going through. Have they moved forward? And the one guy was pretty good on. He had read up that one of the big companies out here that closed down, it's going to be all AI computers. And he says they're powering up 3 Mile Island just to bring enough electricity over here to power it. And he's heavily into the stuff. And he says, a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world is not going to affect us. It's going to get the younger kids. He knew that. I know that. But, I try to help a couple people in my neighborhood that I've seen help other people. That's the new system here. If I see you helping someone, then if you need help, I'll help you. But if you're not, I'm like, you're selfish. Well, I don't have the time. Well, I don't have the time for you. How's that sound? And they get pissed. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I've gone to another level, because people will use you. And then you can't do it right now. My whole old neighborhood was that. They're all dead now. But why can't you do it right now? Why can't you call one of your sons up? Well, they're too busy. Yeah, they have a real life. I don't. That's what you're telling me indirectly. But just wanted to tell you basically, I found another circuit for you, for the people that actually build stuff, or thinking about building a remote ferrite rod antenna. And you can make a real simple one. You take a ferrite rod and you make a small amplifier and you put a tune cap. You tune it into the station you want, and you put it up in the attic, and then you send voltage up there to make the circuit work, and then the signal comes down on the same wire. It's capacitively put in and out, just for one station. But these systems, you can change the frequency, but you can't turn it. Now there is a project, and I can't find it, where there's a motor and you can actually rotate the ferrite rod in different directions and put it outside, away from the house. And at some point I thought of doing that, but I told you, I realized the elephant in the room is there's nothing really to listen to. There's a lot of, by putting the antenna further away, you get rid of the noise factor. That's another elephant. And the other thing was radios. The reason I got into them is it's emotional anchoring. I understood it halfway through, and then the other thing I realized that a lot of the radios, they look different on the outside, but it's the same inside. And Shango will tell you that. He says this is a standard 6 transistor radio. See, when they're 8, they're usually long distance or fringe radios. There's so much to learn, but in the end, you could use the streaming capability of your cell phone. And I think I told you once before, go look online. You can look at the old Radio Shack catalogs, and you can page through it, one page at a time, and you'll notice how many things that were sold in Radio Shack are now obsoleted by a cell phone. And it's page after page after. And then television, you have all these different sprays for the television. They don't use that anymore. The antennas themselves, some people still use them, but most people are streaming now. So oh, there's a new network coming along. It's called now West. Is it West? Anyway, there's a new Western station that's going to come on. It's probably similar to Grit. What's his name? The Rifleman's going to be on it. Gunsmoke, Wagon Train. I read it online, and so that'll be another channel I might get here. But it's the same channel. It's the same programs that are on MeTV during the day, or Grit TV. So in other words, and it's sort of the same company. So they're making more channels out of the same content. So we'll see what's happening. What's going to happen. But I just want to put one more schematic up for you, and maybe another one if I find the one I wanted to show you. The guy made. You can you can move the ferrite rod from a distance, and you can tilt it also. Sometimes you can null out another station or a noise source by tilting the ferrite rod. There's so much to be involved, to learn. And you can also put a second ferrite rod in the system with a nulling coil. And if you got a station that's interfering with a weaker station, you can put the strong station out of phase into the other antenna and null the noise or the strong station out. There's all kinds of tricks, and that's when both stations are on the same frequency. Because I know a lot of you are like, well, just get a more selective radio. No, the stations are on the same frequency. They're in two different states, but one of them's stronger than the other, and you want to null the strong one out so you can enjoy the weaker one. Well, there was a whole bunch of magazines years ago that showed you all these techniques. I had the magazines. I sold them at a yard sale, at a ham flea market. Guy goes, "You got them all?" I said, "Well, I was doing it with the R71A and my box loop and he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, in the crystal radio world, they use that nulling because in order to get a station like say in Hawaii or Alaska, there's going to be another station on that same frequency in another state, and you got to be able to null that out in order to hear the other one. It has nothing to do with selectivity. That's the other thing. You got selectivity to separate the stations and sensitivity to be able to receive the station. But then there's also the null factor, where you can pick up with an antenna a strong station, and you can enter that signal into your other antenna out of phase, right? Yeah, out of phase, and it cancels it out. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do, and that's what I spent my life on. Now I have no grandchildren, no wife, because that's what I spent my life doing. I'd come home from work in electronics and go down in the cellar and work on some type of decoder. 10 years of building decoders to get free movies. But in the end, I was sitting there one day and they go, "This movie sucks. This is a remake and it sucks." And the elephant in the room, all of a sudden you see it. And you're like, these movies aren't worth watching. I'm wasting my time watching these movies. They're stupid. And that's what happened by doing the decoders. And then there was one really super decoder used with the satellite reception. And I was starting to read up on that. And then they were going after people for doing that. And I said, you know what? I don't need this. And I switched to, I might have got back more into bicycle riding. Tropical fish. Yeah, tropical fish showed up again. And the R71A showed up. You know, but as you get older, you go through these hobbies, and that's what I was asking these people that are as old as me or older. You know, I asked them certain questions, and a lot of them told me they were selling their stuff. They're going to go to not a senior center, a retirement community. See, I always call it an old age home, and they didn't. When I was saying that, they didn't like that. They said you should call it a retirement community. I can't afford a retirement community. I can't afford to live in that neighborhood in the regions. Just the maintenance that their HOA does, I couldn't afford that payment every month. But those people over there, they got money, and they're very nice. They're very polite, and, you know, and they're probably some of the nicest people in the whole damn area. Now there is one other neighborhood, which is the Willows. That's up at the top of Route 30, behind the Music Center, and they're extremely nice, and they sell stuff really cheap. So, in other words, you buy 2 DVDs. They don't have it on the sign. They just say a DVD for $1 each. So you grab 2, and the guy goes, "Pick another one out, and I'll throw in one for free." You know, where the other areas, this one here was $2, but it's a Blu-ray, and when you open it up, it's got the regular DVD in there also. But I just want to tell you, I'm adding another link to the comment section, and it's for the people that actually build stuff. You know, I know these people that, yeah, you don't have enough content. You don't tell me. I don't understand what it is. Like, you're never gonna. I know it. Man, you're a Joe Padner. I got a name for you, man. Joe Padner Oh, he was, I want you to show me. I might not know how to do it. And he'd show me, and 2 weeks later, he'd forget it. It was just a waste of time. And I know, I hate to do that with people, but I was the opposite. I was always trying to get someone excited in electronics. And then they get excited enough to keep bothering me to build it for them. That's how excited they got. I think that's it. All right, that's it for now.